Welcome, Magic fans. I am Dr. Magic. This is Blaze. We are at Pop's Culture Shop in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, bringing you another spicy brew. Our goal here is not to highlight maybe the decks that you're going to see everybody talking about. The Juns and your Trons and those kind of things.
Mainstream deck deckers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that that's out there, and they're fine decks, whatever. But you know what I find to be most fun is, coming up with different ideas, some different decks, and especially ones that you're not going to see every week or really anyplace else. And what we've got for you today is a deck that I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to have a mirror match.
Haven't had that problem.
Have not had that problem. We've never seen anybody play this in any capacity. So that's a pretty big introduction. So why don't you tell them what it is?
The deck is 5-color good stuff. That's what I've been calling it. But it's basically a creature toolbox. The best, in my opinion, best creatures in the 5 colors all put into one box.
Yeah, having 5 colors obviously gives you access to just the best of the best that's been printed primarily in multicolor. And you look at the deck list, and it's
bonkers.
How can you not love playing this deck?
I don't think there's anyone who wouldn't love to play this deck. I think this deck is there's a little bit of control, there's aggro, there's Siege Rhino.
Who doesn't love
jamming Siege
Who doesn't
Rhinos?
love the cow? Yeah, it's insanely fun. And you can do some really insane turns. It does have a creature toolbox kind of feel to it, so you do have a lot of answers. But for the most part, it's a heavy creature deck. We have 6 spells in the entire. And I'm not talking like 6 different. I'm talking about like 6 cards that are spells. We're really kind of taking the fight to them.
My favorite way to answer their threat is with a bigger threat.
Yeah, and you're going to pay a cost because of it being multicolor, but the fact of the deck is that we kind of work around that.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, the first thing we need is some mana fixing. Yes. And we've got 4 Noble Hierarchs and 4 Birds of Paradise to fix those for us.
Best turn 1 Noble Hierarch. Hand down.
Best Noble Hierarch. Right. Noble Hierarch on 1. We've got some just insane 3-drops. We've got some,
solid 2-drops.
Solid 2-drops. Kusali Pride Mage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very much needed against Blood Moon.
Blood Moon. If you're playing against something like a Sisters deck, could take out that
Honor the Pure.
Honor the Pure. Yep. And then it's another Exalted trigger if you happen to be swinging alone. Voice of Resurgence.
Just a solid card. Please kill my voice.
Please kill my voice. Yeah, and like you mentioned before, it's a lightning rod.
And a lot of times it's a free 2-in because people don't, when you have a full board, you swing in the voice and they don't want to block him because you have 4 other creatures on the table and they rather take 2 than
try to face that thing down next turn. Yeah, it's a great point. We have 1 main deck Tidehollow Sculler.
Some main board hand hate. I like it the one in my opening hand game 1, just so I can kind of get a feel what they're playing for if I can't tell off their first play.
Right. Yeah. Pick a card, any card. Does have the drawback that it goes back to their hand when it dies, but doesn't have the Inquisition of Kozilek. Must be a 3 or less.
Yeah.
I'm just taking your best card. I'm just taking your best card, and probably on turn 2.
Yeah.
Yep. 3-drops. The 3-drops are nuts.
That's the spice in the deck.
That's definitely the sweet spot. So what do you have at 3?
In 3-drops we have 2 Kitchen Finks for against the aggro matchups. You get 2 blockers for 1 and some life gain. Against Burn, we run 3 Mana Strider, which is my favorite card in the deck. Jam him turn 2 off the Noble Hierarch, get the Exalted trigger. It's 4 and he's untapped.
People forget how good that card was when it was in Standard.
So good.
I mean, it was insane. And when I started looking at this and we were putting this together, I said, but Mana Strider, come on!
This is the deck.
It's a lightning bolt on wheels, flying vigilant haste, And then, like you said, if you hit it off a noble on turn 1, it's 4.
Yeah. And
on turn 2, in the air. That, oh, by the way, is going to hang out and block.
Yeah, you can block too.
Okay. Seems pretty good.
And then we run 2 Anafenza. I love Anafenza. I really like her in the deck because my nobles and my birds, I can tap for mana, attack with her, and turn my birds or my noble into like a decent threat.
Right. Her trigger is any tap creature.
Yeah, any tap creature. It doesn't have to go into combat. It just has to be tapped.
Yep. And then she also, because of her second ability, helps with, dredge
matchup.
Yep, which was, has died down a little bit, but still a powerful deck.
Very powerful deck.
Yep, and it gives you a main board answer, which a lot of decks don't have.
And the last 3 drop in the deck is Spell Queller.
Yep,
Spell Queller. And I'm new to counter spells, but this makes me love it. It's a 2/3 with flying. It has flash. If I need a blocker, it flashes in. If they're playing annoying spells, get rid of it.
Now, you had told me earlier that Spellco actually won you a game last week.
Yeah, the guy I had lethal on the board, and he would have had he was playing Mill or something. Can't quite remember, but he Cryptic Command tapped my board down, and I think bounced something, but I spelled it and swung for win, and I fell in love with the card.
Yep, and just a great, it's a great tempo turn. Sometimes you're gonna catch that. They're gonna try to do removal on.
It's amazing if you get into the late game.
Yep.
It's
that I stop your removal, and now I not just counter it, trade card for card, but now I've got another threat on the board.
Yeah.
And because of the 4 mana, there's so much in the format that's 4 mana and less.
There's not much played that costs more than 4 mana.
No, I mean, like you said, deck has trouble Blood Moon, but if you have the mana up and you have a spell queller, you can hit that Blood Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Stops the Hiri. I mean, you can
stops
the Hiri.
opposing Siege Rhinos.
Stops opposing Siege Rhinos. Yeah, and it's and then it's something else that they have to deal with while they're not dealing with one of your other threats. Which then, we're talking about 4 drops, which really are game enders.
Yeah, if I get 2 of my 4 drops out, any combination, it's usually I've won the game.
So we've got the ubiquitous Siege Rhino, which...
Yeah, Siege Rhino, why wouldn't you play Siege Rhino?
Why would you print Siege Rhino in the first place? Why wouldn't you play it?
It's an amazing card. It's a 4-drop, 4/5 with trample, which is already decent, but then it has a lightning helix on itself.
Sure, he hasn't needed that.
Yeah, he needed that.
And then our other 4-drop is
the Bulk Wreath Aristocrat, which is a flying haste vampire, 4/1 with haste. It's turn 2 Mana Strider with a Noble Exalted trigger, and a turn 3 Siege Rhino, and a turn 4 Aristocrat. You won the game if they haven't answered anything on your board.
Yeah, so we're talking Mana Strider on turn 2. That's 4. They're at 16. Siege Rhino in. On turn 3, they're losing 3. Now they're at 13. On turn 4, then...
You forgot about me swinging Mana Strider.
Oh, then we're right. So now they're at 9.
And then I follow up with the
Aristocrat. And now we're swinging 3, 7 in the air, and a 4/5 trampoline.
Yep, it's a mighty team.
Yeah, if you don't win there, you certainly have.
They've answered. They've played very well.
Yeah,
they have played very well, or their Soul Sisters.
Right, and in which case, then you've drained them of some resources, taking care of your stuff.
They hate having to block with their own ones.
And the hits are going to keep on coming.
Oh yeah.
So the creature package, and it's also very adaptable. We'll see this in the sideboard. There's a lot of other great cards that can filter in. We only have 6 spells in the entire deck.
We run a playset of Pass because Pass one of the best removal spells in Modern, and Abrupt Decay because it's one of the best removal spells in Modern.
Sure, Path to Exile hits anything short of Stormbreath Threat.
In man lands.
It doesn't.
No, it does in man lands.
That's a creature.
Yeah, it does. Never mind.
Yeah, it also takes out Aurora Champion, which is
very good.
And then Abrupt Decay, obviously, being uncounterable.
Very good.
Yeah, and it's just, that card's an all-star.
Yeah.
So, that's the great part of this as your main deck. Lots of great options, lots of flexibility, lots of cool like abilities on your creatures.
There's so many cute. Like every time I play this deck, I find another 2 cards that go so good next to each other. I've been playing this for the past 4 or 5 weeks, and even tonight, like I swung in a 5/6 Birds of Paradise because of Anafenza.
Yeah.
I won with a Birds of Paradise.
Yeah. So the Anafenza just puts that up, and then we don't need it for mana anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing, you got Falkenroth Aristocrat.
There's so many humans in the deck.
Yeah, there's a lot of humans in the deck, which, when you sacrifice a creature to the Aristocrat, it gets indestructible. And if it's a human, it gets a +1/+1 counter on it. Well, you can swing in with it, get the Noble Hierarch trigger, then eat the Noble Hierarch, and now you're swinging 6 in the air.
Yeah.
Indestructible. If you need some life or, it needs to be indestructible and you got a Kitchen Finks out, you know what, I'll eat it to that. It'll get indestructible. The Kitchen Finks comes back.
I'll gain 2 life, yeah.
Right. And then we've talked about Voice of Resurgence. Just sometimes
they just let it through too many times, and I need a beater.
Yeah.
I want a bigger blocker for something they have coming over so I can eat it, sack it to the Aristocrat, and it's not uncommon to get like a 4/4 to a 6/6 blocker.
And it's even like one of those tricks, like, oh, I swung with my Voice and my Aristocrat. Oh, you don't have anything untapped. Swing. In response to combat, sack a Voice of Resurgence to the Falkenroth Aristocrat.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a token that's untapped, and it's probably bigger than whatever you're bringing my way.
Yep.
Or at least big enough to,
trade.
To trade. Yeah, it's just lots of cool little ins and outs, back and forth. And that's, the positive big plus side of the deck. But anytime you have a big positive upside,
there's a downside.
There's a downside. And the downside of this deck is
the mana base.
So let's move and take a look at that real quick. So we're going to take a look real quick at the mana base. To accomplish a 5-color deck, you've got to have a kind of varied mana base. Let's start with the basic lands.
We run 1 forest.
Oh, okay.
Don't want to lose to Path.
You don't want to lose to Path. Yeah, it's your 1 out against Path. So you got 1.
They path you twice.
Just take the shot.
Yeah, just take the
shuffle. From there, we've got a plethora of other lands. We run a playset of fast lands, the Razorridge Thickets, that tap for
green or white.
Green or white. And the reason we run those is
because turn 1, all my mana rock creatures are green and Path's white.
Yep. And I want to hit early mana rock. You want to hit that off of those. Outside of that, now we're talking about stuff that makes
very
multiple colors. 5 colors. So we've got 3 Pillar of the Prunes.
Yep, which let me make any color, but I have to cast on a multicolored spell. So
that's not really a problem.
Yeah, it only bugs me if it's the only land in my hand with the Noble. But then,
yep,
there has to be some drawbacks to the deck.
I guarantee you, the first time you drop that card, your opponent will pick it up and read it. Because they haven't seen it before.
The majority of these lands, people pick up and read.
Yeah. Yep, and then we've got 4 Ancient Ziggurats.
Which they produce any color, but we have to cast creatures.
That's not a problem.
Never been a problem.
Not
once.
The last 3 lands we have, they're kind of unconditional multicolor, but kind of drawbacks.
Reflecting Pool taps for anything, taps for whatever color other lands I control produce with no drawback, I guess.
Well, right, but I mean, if you don't want it to be your first land or your only land, but if you do have any of these, because they can tap
for any color, it can tap for any color without the condition.
Right, so just make it your second land you play?
Yeah, second land drop.
Yep. And then we've got some Gemstone Mines,
which stay around for a while. They do their job. Usually the game's won by the time I'm worried about the land popping.
That's true. Yep. And then
Mana Confluence because we needed 4 more lands.
Yep. Hurt yourself a little bit.
Siege Rhino puts a nice band-aid on that.
Siege Rhino puts a nice band-aid.
Kitchen Finks puts a nice band-aid on that. So I'm not really too worried about the 1 life. I have enough life gain in the main board. It doesn't really hurt me.
Yeah, easy enough that you could, go Mana Confluence or City of Brass, but if somebody ever taps down your City of Brass,
yeah,
and you certainly don't want to run 4 mana Confluence and 4 City of Brass. That would really hurt. So
Yeah.
you're kind of stuck on this mana base.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a little vulnerable to Path outside of the forest. Also a little vulnerable to... no, that's not true. A lot vulnerable to Blood Moon.
Very vulnerable to Blood and Moon.
Yeah, well...
Plus side to Quasali Pride Mage's ability being colorless.
It's true. You got to make sure you
I'll
drop
get
it
them out
onto...
first.
Yeah, yep. I mean, you do have some outs, like any good deck, but, you know, not every deck is going to beat every other deck. It's that, you know, that chess game back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's very much how this deck feels. I never know whether it's going to be a win or a lose. It depends on what I get.
Cool. So that's the mana base. Now let's take a quick look at the sideboard and get you out of here. All right, folks, here we go with the sideboard. One of the great things about playing 5 colors is you have all the sideboard options in the world, provided they have a gold border. And we have a lot of gold borders here. What do we got here, Blaze?
First card off is Engineered Explosives, which is awesome because I can take it as high as Sunburst can go because I run 5 colors. It's great at getting rid of Soul Sisters, Affinity, the Cheerios thing that's running around right now. If you have to, a Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Second card in the deck, speaking of Blood Moon, third copy of Quasali Pride Mage for Blood Moon mainly, but any pesky artifacts or enchantments that I need to get rid of.
Yep.
We run 2 copies of Gaddock Teague, basically against control.
Yeah, control is good. It's also great against anybody who's doing, like, you know, the Kiki chord or those kind of things where they're, you know, trying to play an X-Spell, trying to go get something. Yeah, Gaddock Teague shuts down the Hiri, does just a lot of work.
Very good card.
And he's a creepy Kithian.
He is a creepy Kithian.
Yep.
We run 3 more Scholars out of the side.
Yep.
We can basically turn into like a pseudo control deck.
Yeah, there's another Spell Queller, which, you know, is kind of the next thing.
Yep. You bring in, if you want to go a little bit like slower route, you bring in the additional Spell Queller and 3 extra Scholars and go hand, hate, and counter.
Yep. I've done that a few times. It's been really, really good.
Is a static caster because amazing against tokens.
Soul Sisters.
Really good against Soul Sisters. Decent like affinity matchups. Solid card. We run an additional Kitchen Finks for against burn, other aggro matchups, and Offensive for basically the same games.
Mm-hmm.
We run the Pontiff.
Yep, nice Orzhov Pontiff there.
He's very good against basically the same things I just listed. Very good against Soul Sisters. Wipes the board the majority of the time. Yeah,
he's kind of a flex spot, and happens to be our local meta. We do have some people who play Soul Sisters. We have some Weird Life, which not only goes like Soul Sisters, but also does the weird Norin and Genesis Chamber. Yeah. So just kind of having...
he was a meta call.
Yeah, it's kind of a meta call. And what's cool is he dies, and you can haunt.
Yep.
And then I'll just haunt my Voice of Resurgence and then sacrifice
get even more value.
Yeah, so do it again. And the last card, Sin Collector, just another
usually comes in with the control package.
Yep. And I find that very fun too. Like, I'll game 1, aggro him out, and then like game 2 on the play, I'll just be like,
slow it down.
Yeah, voices go out, and you know, I'm gonna bring a Queller in, and and you know, the Mantis Rider is obviously very explosive no matter what, but it's really explosive if you're on the play or they're not expecting it.
Yes.
But then in game 2, you're like, slow down a little bit, you know, take some stuff out of your hand. You know, we can play that game too. So the deck is neat because it's got those interchangeable parts, and you know, it's an aggro beatdown, but then it kind of turns into like, and I've got a lot of answers.
I love the deck because everything's a threat. You can answer one thing, the next card I'm laying down is a threat.
Yep.
Everything is a threat.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of cool. Like we said, you know.
Haven't seen it before. I have not seen this deck before.
Basically saw somebody running like 4 color Ziggurat.
Yep.
And was like, well, if you're running 4 colors.
Why not run 5?
Why not run 5? And that just kind of grew from there. And then, you know, Spell Queller came out, and that card just seemed like it needed to be in here, and really, you know, push the deck to. But you won last week, right?
Yep.
How'd you do tonight?
I went 2-2. couple bad plays against Soul Sisters. That was not the deck's fault. That was my fault. Probably should have been 3-1, but we live and we learn.
Yeah, and it's fun, which is always cool.
Yep.
So listen, if you're looking for a fun deck that's going to be unique, yeah, that's that's going to have a lot of fun answers.
And a lot of people don't know how to play against it because there's so many different odd cards that you don't see in other matchups.
That's true. I mean, I'm going to turn 2, you're going to see, an American color.
Yeah.
And then turn 4, you're getting junk color.
Yeah.
And then turn 5, we're going to do a Rakdos. It's like.
And if they sideboard for one threat, I have other threats in the main board that they just didn't see.
Yep.
That are coming down next turn that they don't have answers for.
Yep. Yeah. Very, very fun. Very cool deck. It's one of those decks that's, not a linear deck. You do have like 3s and 4s of, but every game is completely different.
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing A to do B to do C.
Yeah, there is the optimal plan, but Anafenza turn 2 sometimes is better than what Mana Strider would have done in the late game.
Yep. Yeah. So very unique, very interesting deck, and that's kind of the things we want to continue to. Yeah, I want to promote
here at Pops
and bring along and show you guys. So hope you've enjoyed it. And if you check it out and you play it and you like it, leave us a comment. Let us know how you did with it, what you think. If you have any suggestions for us, please feel free to add those. That's all we have today. I am Dr. Magic. This is Blaze. We are out.
Bye.